Who has it worse when it comes to acne? Men or women? Well, we're about to find out. This is gonna get interesting. So what do you think? Let me know down below because I feel like there's really good reasons for both sides of this argument. Before we get into it, as somebody who has dealt with extremely severe cystic acne, I definitely know intimately how hard it can be. So I'm excited to dive into this, but whether you're male or you're female, if you have acne and you want help getting rid of it, check out my acne program, theacnemethod.com. I designed it so that it's very straightforward so that you can find the cause of your acne and target it there instead of just masking the symptoms. So check the success stories on the website. You'll be very impressed. And now, let's get into this debate. First off, men do not have menstrual cycles. That is a huge advantage. I know all the girls that are watching right now are nodding their heads because you know your hormones are all over the place during the different phases of your period, and that causes breakouts. They actually have done scientific studies about this, and they found that between 1 and 2/3 of females will have a flare-up around the time of their period, specifically in the late luteal phase, which is the last 2 weeks leading up to the actual ovulation. Imagine 2 weeks out of every month, you are double susceptible to breakouts. That sucks. Second up, since we're on the topic of hormones, men have more testosterone, generally about 10 times more to be exact, and testosterone greatly increases sebum production. Sebum is the oil that comes out of your pores, and when you clog up, it turns into pimples. So on the other hand, women have a lot more estrogen. Estrogen makes the skin more plump, nourished, it helps preserve collagen and elastin structure, which basically means thicker and healthier looking skin. Third up, women are heavily encouraged to wear makeup their entire lives. Now, I know at first you're probably thinking girls being able to use makeup to cover their blemishes is a huge advantage, but believe me, there's a whole set of insecurities that come out of wearing makeup and being expected to wear makeup, but still having your acne texture show through your foundation. We're gonna get into that in a minute, but the big disadvantage to wearing makeup all the time is that a lot of makeup is comedogenic or pore clogging. On top of that, if you don't remove your makeup correctly, or even just forget to take it off, it happens, right? It can actually cause a lot more acne. So it's kind of a double whammy. Now, a lot of times girls start wearing more makeup when they first start breaking out, which can then lead to more breakouts and breakouts being worse, and then more makeup goes on to cover it, and it becomes a vicious circle. Fourth up, piggybacking on that last point, men, on the other hand, are generally discouraged from wearing makeup, which is helpful because we don't have product on our face that's causing us to break out. But I know from personal experience that I definitely did feel jealous that I didn't have anything to help cover my pimples up, you know, whenever I was feeling insecure before school or work or whatever it was, right? And I covered my pimples whenever I was feeling insecure, right? I have a pretty crazy story. I had really severe cystic acne in high school. A lot of you guys know that. I was constantly struggling and I was always looking for something to help. I was trying literally every treatment. I was trying to figure out any strategies that could just help me feel a bit more secure or to hide my acne. And I actually found this spot treatment product that would help dry out your pimples so it would go away faster, but it was also tinted skin color tone so that it worked kind of like a concealer too. I definitely was affected by the stigma that men should never wear makeup, which I now realize is so dumb, and I'm glad I stopped listening to all that stuff because at the time I was really excited that I had found something that was kind of like a concealer, but not technically makeup, so I didn't feel bad about wearing it. Now, girls, I bet you already know where this is going, but if you are even a shade off with your concealer, it is so obvious. You can see that there's something on your face. Well, one day I showed up to school, I walk up to the circle of guys I hung out with before the day started, and immediately this kid starts pointing at me. Everyone stops what they're doing, stops talking, turns and stares right at me, and he says, "Are you wearing makeup?" And I can't even describe it. Like the words don't match how I was feeling. Mortified, panicked, terrified. I wanted to just turn and run home. That was it. And I said no, which then made it worse because then he came really close to my face and he said, "Yeah, he is." So imagine the last bit of my already weaning, struggling confidence just withering away in that moment. I did not forget that moment for a single day the entire time I was in high school. Literally, I'd replay it before I'd go to bed at night. It sucked. So I wanted to share that story because I know stories really drive the point home, and I never considered wearing makeup again after that moment. It scarred me. I could not stop thinking about it, and I was mortified that somebody might catch me again until the day I went on the doctor's TV show to talk about my acne, and then I watched tons of guys, really famous guys, have their makeup put on, and then that sort of dissolved that fear that men can't wear makeup. So By the way, if you have a story that ties into any of these points that I'm pointing out, definitely I want to hear it in the comments. Next up for women, women are held to a much, much higher beauty standard. This is a fact in my opinion. Women grow up watching celebrities idolized for being absolutely perfect with flawless skin that almost doesn't look real. And that's because it is not real. Every photo of a professional model is edited and airbrushed. Every shot that you see of a woman with flawless skin in a movie is set up with perfect lighting, with a professional makeup artist spending hours on the actress, a team of editors working hard to airbrush her skin so it is flawless. Literally, not tens, but hundreds of thousands of dollars are going into making women look flawless. And young girls see that and think, I should be like that. And if I'm not, there's something wrong with me. And that's a whole nother video. I really dislike that. And going along with that, probably even worse, is the use of filters on social media are so convincing that sometimes you can't even tell who the person is when you see them compared to their social media profile in real life, right? We all spend so many hours on the internet every single day comparing our worst days, our worst looks, our worst lighting, our worst angle, 1 inch from the mirror to everyone else's best days, and also best days that are heavily filtered, heavily photoshopped to remove any blemishes, any semblance of skin texture at all. That pressure creates this expectation for women to strive for perfection that isn't even real. So it is impossible. It is a losing venture, and that puts so much pressure on women, I can't even describe it. Okay, now on to the next interesting fact, which is men have larger pores, more of them, and those pores produce more oil than women's. My fiance made a really good point when I told her this fact. She immediately said, oh, that makes sense. That's why the pores on men's noses are always more prominent. I can see them more visibly. So there's another disadvantage for men. We have pores that are more productive, more creative. Now on to another point for women, a 4-letter word, PCOS. That's all I need to say. If you know, you know. Okay, you might not know. So PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is a very painful condition where women will grow fibrous tissue and cysts on their ovaries. This condition wreaks havoc on the body. It causes a lot of inflammation and it affects hormone levels, which causes more acne. In fact, women suffering from PCOS are 1.6 times more likely to suffer from acne than people who don't have PCOS. I actually made a video diving into hormonal and PCOS acne, so I'll link that in the corner and the description if you want to learn a little bit more about it. Now, the next point isn't necessarily so much about acne itself, but it makes the struggle a lot harder. Men are often discouraged from showing their emotions, especially crying. I know this firsthand, and I was definitely told to suck it up, rub some dirt in it, toughen up so many times when I was growing up, and it definitely now I realize caused a lot of pain that I wish I didn't have to go through. For example, I learned to hide my tears, never express those emotions to literally anyone. Honestly, even worse, I learned to be ashamed of my own emotions when I was in private, when nobody was looking, when I would start crying. Like, nobody's there watching, and I'm sitting there insulting myself for having, tears welling up in my eyes because I was thinking about how hard the day was with my acne. I hate that was what I was going through, but it is. I bottled it up, again and again and again. And that's a huge reason why I was so angsty at this time in my life. The reason I was so aggressive at sports. And eventually all of that pressure came exploding out at random times. I intimately remember crying in my parked car at school, crying while screaming lyrics, driving on the freeway in my car, having to flip my pillow over because I had soaked it with my tears, but being ashamed and sort of lying to myself that I had even been crying in the first place. It's actually really weird to kind of think back to it, but it's incredibly unhealthy to hide your emotions, and that's why I try to be so vocal about my struggles now, my emotions now, and I post videos anytime I find myself crying, even though I still feel a little adverse to it. I feel a little weird, but I know that this is part of undoing the damage that our culture does to men all across the country. Little boys who are growing up shouldn't have to feel like they're any less valuable or any less of a man for crying. I never opened up to any of my friends about how much I was struggling with my acne, and I now seriously get viscerally emotional thinking about that younger version of myself who was just drowning. It's me, and I'm fine now, but I wish I could reach back in time and just hug that younger version of Brian really tight so that he would feel safe enough to let it out, because that's what I needed. That's a huge reason I talk about all this stuff. I see my young self in so many of you guys who watch my videos, and that is why I really want you to know that you are not alone. You can let it out. It is okay. feels kind of weird to just move on after that one. I got a little bit emotional there, but we gotta finish the video up. So next up for women is pregnancy and menopause related acne. That's something that men will never have to deal with in their life. And acne as adults can come with a whole bunch of other struggles having to do with age related social stigmas. And that's a whole nother video. Last up on my list is that women generally grow up learning more about skincare. Sure, it's not nearly as much as I wish everybody was taught, especially, going through school and whatnot. It'd be amazing if it was part of our high school system, but I'd say that boys generally seriously lack knowledge of acne and skincare by the time they start breaking out, and that's why we have millions of boys and millions of men who just take that bar of soap, rub it right between their cheeks, and then rub it right up against their other cheeks. In all seriousness though, I had to play a lot of catch up when I started to break out because I honestly had zero skincare knowledge at all. All right, so now you've heard my points and it's your turn to weigh in. Officially, who has it worse? I want to hear exactly why you think what you think too. In my opinion, acne is freaking tough for everyone, no matter what. I think that to each person, their struggles can consume every moment, every thought, everything in their whole life, and that struggle is universal. Definitely a different video today. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed putting it together. I like to explore these kind of topics, so let me know what you guys thought about this in the comments below. But as always, if you're looking for my favorite skincare brand of all time, you definitely gotta check out Banish. They're 100% natural, 100% cruelty-free, and they're small batch made weekly, so all the active ingredients haven't degraded by the time it gets to you. Unlike some brands who mass produce and products sit in storage for months, they come to you only a week after they've been made. Use my code Brian5 to get yourself a discount. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed already because I put new skincare and acne videos out every single week. And finally, remember, you're not alone, you are beautiful, and you're part of Team Acne. I'll see you skin bosses in the very next video.